Fortunately, radicalism is not in the fad nowadays. The only radicalism you can have in environmental advocacy is for people to, for example, what the Greenpeace does is to burn or throw garbage into the streets.
Right, right.
And that would be considered radical. And they should be arrested for, of course, littering, but it's not done to them because they're doing something good. So radicalism as a problem in environmentalism in this country is not really a problem.
It isn't there. Yeah, I don't think it's that big a deal in the United States either. Although there are some groups that are a little bit so far over they're pretty hard for people to take, and maybe do more damage to the environmental movement than other people do.
Well, they have a point when people are frustrated and they cannot get their point across. They can dramatize it by being radical.
Right.
But they cannot keep on repeating that, of course, because it becomes a criminal act already.
Right.
So just to dramatize, once is okay, but doing it 2-3 times is something else.
You know, you were talking about the tobacco industry. Another one was they continued using lead in gasoline, for ethyl gasoline,
for quite a while.
For many years after they knew that it was poisoning people.
Yeah. They know it, but they still continue doing it and lie through their teeth that it's not harming people.
Right. And they kept it going for many years. And it's only in the last, 30 years that they stopped it in the United States. I don't know about here. You don't have ethyl.
No, here I'm proud to say that Senator Alvarez was the one who led and convinced the oil companies here to voluntarily reduce and eliminate lead from their gasoline products. And it was done by persuasion, not by a law.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But now there's no leaded gas.
No more here,
I don't think.
Because they found other additives which are even harmful, more harmful than lead.
Right. Yes. And this takes us to another point. We're not going to go back to walking if we can ride. You know, that's not something we're going to do. What sort of areas here in the Philippines are we working toward lowering emissions, from cars and that sort of thing?
Well, of course, the LRT, the MRT, and the bus rapid transit in Cebu are examples of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by doing public transport. And there is no public transport in the world unless it is subsidized by the government.
Right.
And so the new government complained that it is subsidizing the fares of the people riding the LRT. Should have to admit that they have to subsidize because it will get too expensive for people to ride in the LRT and the MRT electric trains, and this will force more buses. If they raise the prices too high in the LRT, the people will ride the buses, and the buses will cause more traffic and more emissions than the LRT would ever.
Yeah, I don't know of any cases where they're not subsidized. You know, I spent most of my life in Japan, where everything is public transportation. They're very good. Of course, there are private lines and public lines, but I think all of them have a lot of subsidies, to go with it. And I grew up in a place in Arizona where there was no public transportation because everybody drove cars because it was too sparse a population, to have anything. But the last time I was there, it's grown so much that they do have trains and a train system now that's going through the city. It's not really all over the place, but it is starting to move in that direction.
That's a way to do it, yeah. That's one way.
So the LRT and the MRT are fairly new here, right?
Yeah,
they're
about 10, 15 years old,
Yeah, it was just starting when I came. I think it was about 12 years ago, and I noticed they're making it in lots of places. But I ride a small motorcycle, which I don't know. I would rather ride an electric one. I had one for a while. I had an electric motorcycle, but when it broke, nobody could fix it. So, so it was kind of an experimental thing out of China. But how about that? And I noticed one of my friends the other day bought a hybrid electric car. I didn't even know that they were being sold
they're selling them here now.
He just bought a Prius,
Oh yeah, Prius.
So and I guess that's something relatively new, right?
Yeah, it will be quite expensive. Yeah,
they're still pretty expensive, of course.
One way to solve the problem of having to use transportation is, of course, to make the city walkable.
Right.
Things are close to each other, vertical. You make things denser, and so people don't have to travel too much to do things that they like to do.
So yeah, having a walking town, I guess,
walking
is sort
town,
of
yeah.
thing. Something like
city,
San Francisco or that sort of thing, I guess.
That's the way to
right?
do it also, yeah.
Right. You were talking about renewable energy, you know, of using refuse to do it. What other sorts of renewable energy are being
Well, I just
here?
came from a meeting tonight, and a friend of mine from my province in La Union is thinking of doing projects that would use solar energy,
Okay.
and then also use that energy to desalinate water from the ocean, and then use that energy to do what's called vertical farming, using what do you call this? Using, instead of using soil, using water with chemicals in it to grow vegetables and the fruits.
Is that something like hydroponic? Hydroponic
Yeah.
growth? Yeah. And you would be doing that, what, on top of buildings or?
Yeah, to do it in 3-4 story buildings, no, but we'll have to do it first in the province. But obviously the best place to do it will be in the city. And that will be one trend in the future when water runs out in the provinces. You will have to grow your own food in the city and using dense, high vertical agriculture. Hydroponics.
You mentioned solar energy. It's gotten a lot cheaper than it used to be, and it's gotten a lot better than it used to be, but it's still pretty expensive, I guess. How about, is there any push by the government, say, to subsidize or to give tax breaks to new buildings that are built that use solar energy, or?
Well, the new National Act, the Renewable Energy Act, provides incentives, tax-free, duty-free for companies that start a renewable energy plant. And that's the way they do it. But they don't give it directly to consumers, like what they do in California, where they give a tax break or a subsidy for somebody to put up solar panels in his house. They don't do that yet.
Right. In fact, excuse me, one of my clients just did his house, and he thought it was supposed to lower his electric bill by 50% because, you know, you don't have sun all through the year, and it lowered it by more than 80%.
Well, that's pretty high, really?
Yeah,
what's your price, huh?
Very high, though. I mean, it cost a lot of money to do the house.
What's his return? How should
his return? He would amortize it, I think, in 6 years.
6 years. Oh, that's pretty fast.
It was pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
Given, but he used a lot of electricity in his house and everything.
Yeah.
So
80%.
he did okay.
That's pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. But here you could. I mean, with the amount of sunshine that we get in Manila,
unfortunately, even though we have a lot of sunshine here, we have because we're close to the ocean, we have a lot of clouds, and so that will reduce the heat energy coming down.
So it's not as
not as good as people think, like like in the desert where you don't have any clouds at all. But you can still do it.
What about other forms of renewable energy? Like water.
Water energy. The problem with water is you have to have a lot of watershed forest conservation, which is not a very good part of this country. In the Philippines, in natural resource conservation, geothermal is considered renewable, but it's classified as conventional energy.
Oh, what kind is it?
Conventional energy, but it is a renewable energy.
Geothermal.
Okay. The heat energy from volcanoes.
And
then you use
it
to heat up water, steam.
Do you have spas here in the Philippines? I don't.
Spas?
The volcanic.
Right in Laguna, in Los Baños, we have mineral springs there. Yeah.
Really?
What you mean? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hot springs and cold springs. Yeah.
So you do have. I mean, I know Japan. You had them about everywhere.
We have them in Laguna. Yeah, because Mount Makiling is an extinct volcano, and so you still have hot springs and cold springs coming from that mountain. Yeah.
Okay. And you were mentioning something that was in the newspaper today about some progress that's been made.
Oh yes, I was surprised and glad to find in the newspaper today 3 new stories. One is the demolition of illegal fish pens starting in Dagupan. The second is that an ex-Cordillera executive says commercial farming is eroding native culture. And the third one, which all beside itself in the page, is Burnham Lake cleanup drive starts with fishing. So now we have heard the phenomenon of community and government leaders actually helping in protect the environment. And that is a very good sign.
How does closing fish pens help the environment?
Well, okay, in Dagupan, you have a lot of so-called illegal fish pens that are oversized and that are built too close to the shore, and at the same time blocking the free passage of the banca, the fishermen's bancas. And if you have too many fish pens, they use fish feed that they use too much of, and it will just sink into the water, not being eaten by the fish, and it will create a lot of biological oxygen demand in the water and cause a fish kill sooner or later. And so by reducing the amount of illegal fish pens, you reduce the amount of environmental destruction by these bad practices.
Oh. See, those are things that I have no idea about.
And that's the thing about nature, and even in society. You have one cause affecting another cause, and it's like a chain. And unless you study that and find out what is happening wrong, you might be giving the wrong solution to the wrong problem.